Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm doing a review and demo of the new NARS Wanted palette. I got this a little bit early in PR to try out, so I've been playing around with it a lot so I could give you my review prior to it launching for a one-day sale on Cyber Monday. This is the NARS Wanted palette. 12 shades are included. More pigment, rich color, instant gratification. Enter the Narcissist Wanted eyeshadow palette, featuring an all-new formula that brings the richest color payoff, this innovative powder suspense, and a liquid binding system, creating intense high-impact color. Introduced in 12 high-impact eyeshadows, the formula ranges from buttery mattes, lustrous satins, coveted shimmers, and glittering metallic finishes. There is more than one way to get more views. If this is something you're interested, or maybe this is the first time seeing it, I'm going to do swatches. I'm going to compare it also to the Urban Decay Naked Heat palette. The only difference for this palette and the Urban Decay Naked Heat, in case you don't have that, is the formulation and the different kinds of textures in this palette. This has a bunch of different textures, and I think this you can get more variety just because of those textures. That's definitely the one thing right off the bat that sets it apart to other warm palettes on the market right now, is the variety of textures you get. And I think this is a beautiful palette. It also has this really interesting green shade that has this beautiful shift to it. It's really fun to play with. They have quite similar matte tones in both palettes, so for transitions and things like that, you're not going to get much variety there. What really sets apart the NARS Wanted to the Urban Decay Naked Heat, if you're trying to make a decision between the two, is definitely the textures. I love the textures in the Wanted palette. Plus it has this beautiful green shade, so I think it's really different. And that Taupe sparkly shade, which does have fallout, but I think it does set this palette apart from the Urban Decay Naked Heat. So if you're interested in playing with some more textures, I think you can get more variety from looks with the NARS Wanted. But if you already have the Urban Decay Naked Heat, do you necessarily need the NARS Wanted palette? No, you don't. It's just if you want to play with those different textures. A couple different colors definitely in the palette, but they are quite similar. So I have dipped into every single shade of this palette. They are really buttery, easy to blend. My favorite shade in the palette is Shooting Star, which is right there. It's also the most difficult shadow in the palette to work with because it has the most glitter and the texture is very interesting. You will see there's a ton of fallout with that shadow. So because of all that glitter in it, I do recommend using a glitter adhesive if you're to use that shade. Otherwise, you're going to have a ton of glitter on the face, because I've tried it without and I've tried it with, and there's definitely a noticeable difference with that specific shade with how much fallout. The other ones I don't find have a lot of kick up fallout. It's just that specific shade that's more like a topper glitter that can really amp up the look. I would recommend a glitter glue with that one. So that's the only one that the formula was a little bit of a miss on, though it's still my favorite shade just because of the color and the amount of punch it gives to a look. It's super beautiful. The eyeshadows wear well, they don't fade, they have really intense pigment as the promo suggests. I've used them wet, I've used them dry. Definitely using a little bit of Fix Plus amps up the color payoff like I did for the shade on my lid. If you are a makeup lover like me, or maybe you passed on the Urban Decay Naked Heat, this is definitely a warm tone palette I think you should pick up. I only had the one problem with one shade, so that's saying a lot for this palette. It's pretty consistent across the board. I love the packaging on it. When you look at it up close, it looks pixelated. However, when you see it far back like this, you can definitely see the eye. Such beautiful packaging. I really love it. I love NARS eyeshadow palettes. I personally love the formulation of NARS eyeshadows, and they did step it up with this new formula. If you feel some of the different textures, you will see what they mean about that liquid hybrid formula. They're very, very different to touch. Now moving on to the demo on my eyes, you're going to see how this performs, how everything blends, if you want to see how I created this look. So I'm taking this neutral cream shade from the Wanted palette, just dusting that on my eyelids. Next, I'm taking Seven Heaven on that same brush and buffing it in my crease as my transition shade. Now I'm taking the shade Shadow Hill on a MAC 217, just going lower in the crease to slightly deepen that up. Same brush, I'm using the shade Temptress, and I'm just going to put that in the outer corner of my eye. This is very pigmented. I feel like they're very easy to work with and blend really nicely into one another. I did a halo look that I'm going to post a photo of in this video using probably my favorite shade in the palette, which is Shooting Star, but it's also the most difficult to work with because it gives you a lot of fallout. It's really pretty. Make sure all the edges are blended. I'm just going to take a little bit of MAC Fix Plus and my MAC 242 brush. I'm going to spray that and pick up the shade Mendoza. All the shadows are really easy to blend, put on the eye, except for Shooting Star. As I said, that has a lot of fallout, and I would suggest a glitter glue with that shade, but the rest, beautiful. I'm just going to take a smaller pencil brush. This is a Morphe E36 in the shade Coconut Grove, which I believe is the only permanent shadow. I know for sure this is permanent. I'm not sure about the other shades, because I used to use this color all the time. So I'm just going to deepen up the outer corner along the lash line. It's like purple glitters in that Mendoza shade. It's so pretty. I'm just going to take a little bit of the shade Wicked Game on that 242, and I'm just going to make a little transition here. And going back with the shade Shadow Hill, I just want to deepen up the crease ever so slightly. Taking a little bit of that Shooting Star shade, I'm going to use this as my inner corner highlight. Mascara and lashes on, I use the Koko Goddess lashes. Now using a Smith 230 brush, taking that first shade that we used called Seven Heaven, and buffing that under the eye. Then taking a flat definer brush, this is from Sigma, it's an E15. I'm taking the shade Temptress and going really close to the lower lash line. And then I'm going to take Coconut Grove, basically just stamp however long that flat definer brush is right on the outer corner. So this is the completed eye makeup look. I hope you guys enjoyed this review and demo. As I said, this launches November 27th, which is Cyber Monday. So if you want to pick this up, it's only for one day and then it will return. So the initial launch is one day only. Cyber Monday, it will be available on Sephora.com, Sephora.ca. Then it will also be available December 4th for a Sephora.ca preview. January 5th, 2018, it will be available at Sephora, and January 12th, it will be available at other NARS retailers. So that's all the information I have for you guys. I hope this helps you decide whether this is the palette you want, and if so, I would definitely recommend picking it up on the initial launch. I think this is going to be a hot palette because it has beautiful new formula from NARS. It's something that you definitely should feel. Some of these textures in the palette are very unique, I find, and I think they perform beautifully on the eyes, except for one shade, which takes a little bit more work, but it's still my favorite in the palette. So thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I will see you all in my next video.